My girlfriend cheated on me and, to protect her image and discredit anything I might say, falsely accused me of cheating on her, which almost cost me my job. After months of anguish, I finally turned the tables. Growing up in a small town, I was always taught that honesty and loyalty were the cornerstones of any relationship. My parents had a marriage that seemed unbreakable, and I always aspired to have something similar. I met Sarah during my sophomore year of college. She was smart, charming, and had a smile that could light up any room. We quickly fell in love and decided to get married after graduation. Life with Sarah was wonderful, filled with laughter, shared dreams, and mutual support. I landed a job at a marketing firm, and she pursued a career in interior design. We seemed like the perfect team, conquering life's challenges together. As the years passed, our lives became more intertwined. We bought a house in a quiet neighborhood, threw parties for friends and family, and often found ourselves being envied for our seemingly perfect marriage. However, about a year ago, I began to notice subtle changes in Sarah's behavior. She became increasingly distant, often engrossed in her phone or coming home late from work. At first, I chalked it up to the stress of her demanding job, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. This nagging suspicion grew stronger with each passing day, eventually leading to a discovery that shattered my world. Each passing day felt like a struggle to maintain the illusion of our perfect marriage. To outsiders, Sarah and I were the ideal couple. We hosted gatherings, attended social events, and displayed an image of happiness and unity. Our friends often remarked on how lucky we were to have each other, unaware of the growing distance between us. Sarah's behavior became increasingly erratic, her warmth replaced by a cold, unapproachable demeanor. I tried to rationalize her actions, convincing myself that work stress was to blame. However, the late-night phone calls, sudden business trips, and secretive behavior hinted at a deeper issue that I couldn't ignore. I began to feel like a stranger in my own home, constantly walking on eggshells around Sarah. She was always preoccupied, her phone never leaving her side, and her explanations for her absences grew more dubious by the day. Despite my efforts to communicate and reconnect, she remained distant and aloof. Our conversations became stilted, and the intimacy we once shared vanished. I felt a growing sense of unease, suspecting that something was seriously wrong. My attempts to understand and bridge the gap were met with resistance, and I was left feeling helpless and confused. The first signs of trouble were subtle, almost easy to dismiss if you weren't looking closely. Sarah started working late more frequently, citing urgent projects and deadlines. She became increasingly protective of her phone, setting a password and keeping it with her at all times. Our once lively conversations dwindled into awkward silences, and her affectionate gestures disappeared. I tried to dismiss my concerns, convincing myself that it was just a rough patch, a phase that every marriage goes through. Yet, the gnawing feeling of unease persisted. One evening, I suggested we take a weekend getaway to rekindle our relationship, but she declined, saying she was too swamped with work. Her constant excuses began to wear on me, and I started feeling isolated in my own marriage. I reached out to friends for advice, but no one seemed to notice the changes I did. Despite my growing concerns, I remained hopeful that we could work things out. I tried to be more attentive, planning date nights and trying to engage her in meaningful conversations. However, my efforts seemed to only push her further away, and I was left feeling increasingly helpless and confused. Before continuing the story, subscribe to the channel and leave your like. As Sarah's behavior became more suspicious, my unease turned into full-blown paranoia. She frequently had work emergencies that required her to leave at odd hours, and her explanations became increasingly vague. I started noticing small but telling details, like the scent of unfamiliar cologne on her clothes or the way she would quickly close her laptop when I entered the room. My mind raced with possibilities, each more painful than the last. I decided to dig deeper, hoping to find a reasonable explanation for her behavior. I began checking her social media accounts and phone records, searching for any clues that might explain her sudden distance. What I found only heightened my suspicions: frequent calls and messages to an unknown number, strange meeting locations in her calendar, and a noticeable increase in her spending. My heart sank as the pieces of the puzzle started to fit together. It became clear that something was seriously wrong, and I could no longer ignore the signs. I was determined to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The turning point came one evening when I could no longer bear the uncertainty. I confronted Sarah directly, asking her about the late nights, the secretive behavior, and the unfamiliar phone number. At first, she denied everything, her face a mask of calm indifference. But as I pressed on, her composure began to crack. Finally, with tears in her eyes, she admitted to having an affair. She claimed it started because she felt neglected and bored in our marriage. Her confession was like a sledgehammer to my heart. The woman I had loved and trusted for so many years had been unfaithful, and her reasons felt like shallow excuses for a betrayal that cut deep. I was overwhelmed with a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. The emotional impact was devastating, leaving me reeling from the shock and struggling to process the enormity of her infidelity. I couldn't comprehend how the life we had built together could crumble so quickly, and I felt utterly lost in the aftermath of her admission. Discovering the full extent of Sarah's affair was like enduring a series of relentless blows. She had been involved with a colleague for 4 years, sneaking around and lying to maintain the facade of our happy marriage. Each new revelation felt like a fresh betrayal, deepening my sense of hurt and anger. I found it incomprehensible that someone I trusted so completely could deceive me for so long. It was as if the life I thought we had was a lie, leaving me questioning everything about our relationship and myself. The details of their affair were harrowing. They had shared intimate moments and secrets, mocking the very foundation of our marriage. I felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal and humiliation, as though everyone else had been in on a joke at my expense. My feelings of anger and despair were intense, and I struggled to reconcile the person I thought Sarah was with the reality of her actions. The sense of loss was profound, not just of my wife, but of the life and future we had envisioned together. Determined to understand the full extent of Sarah's betrayal, I began collecting evidence meticulously. I scoured through old messages, call logs, and emails, piecing together the timeline of her infidelity. Each discovery was a blow to my already shattered sense of trust. Conversations between Sarah and her lover, filled with intimate details and plans for secret meetings, confirmed the depth of their deceit. I also reached out to mutual friends and acquaintances, some of whom had noticed changes in Sarah's behavior and were willing to share what they knew. The process of uncovering the truth was both painful and illuminating. Each new piece of evidence deepened my understanding of the betrayal but also contributed to my sense of empowerment. It was a difficult journey, fraught with emotional turmoil as I grappled with the reality of what had happened. Despite the heartache, I was committed to facing the truth head-on, understanding that clarity was crucial for making informed decisions about my future. The struggle to come to terms with Sarah's infidelity was intense, but it was necessary for me to reclaim control over my life. Armed with undeniable proof of Sarah's infidelity, I decided it was time for another confrontation. I called her into the living room, where I had laid out the evidence, printouts of their messages, phone records, and emails. Her reaction was a mix of shock and desperation as she saw the extent of the betrayal laid bare before her. She pleaded for forgiveness, claiming she had made mistakes but was willing to make amends and work on our marriage. Her pleas were filled with remorse, but the trust between us had been irrevocably damaged. I was overwhelmed by a storm of emotions, anger, sadness, and confusion. Despite her assurances, I struggled to believe that anything could repair the rift her actions had caused. The confrontation left me emotionally drained, and the decision of whether to give her another chance or to end the relationship loomed large. Her request to reconcile felt like a painful irony, as it was clear that the damage was too profound to easily mend. The impact of Sarah's affair extended beyond just our relationship, it reverberated through our family and close friends. Our once tight-knit circle was now fractured, with many feeling caught in the middle of the fallout. Some friends took sides, while others struggled to find the right words to offer support. The sense of betrayal was not confined to me, it affected everyone who had believed in our seemingly perfect marriage. The emotional toll on me was immense. I found myself grappling with feelings of isolation and inadequacy, questioning my worth and my ability to trust others. The weight of the betrayal took a significant toll on my mental health, leaving me exhausted and disheartened. My once vibrant social life dwindled as I withdrew from activities and relationships that reminded me of the pain. The experience forced me to confront not only the end of a significant relationship but also the need to rebuild my sense of self and emotional well-being. After much deliberation and emotional turmoil, I decided that the best path forward was to end the relationship. The betrayal had irrevocably shattered the trust between us, and I knew I couldn't rebuild it. I moved out of our shared home and began the process of separating our lives. It was a challenging period, filled with moments of doubt and sadness, but also a time of self-discovery and growth. In the aftermath, I focused on rebuilding my life. I sought therapy to help process the emotional impact of the betrayal and to regain my confidence. I reconnected with friends and family, finding solace and support in their companionship. Moving forward, I learned the importance of self-respect and resilience. My advice to anyone facing a similar situation is to prioritize your well-being and trust your instincts. If a relationship is damaged beyond repair, it's crucial to recognize when it's time to let go and to focus on healing and personal growth.